I always thought long-distance relationships were for people braver than me. But I guess when Mason took the job in Portland and said, "We'll make it work," I didn't want to be the one who doubted us. So I said yes. And for the first few months, we really tried video calls, care packages, the occasional weekend visit. But then it became fewer texts, shorter calls, longer silences. You tell yourself it's just a phase until one day you realize you're lying more than you're loving, asterisk. That's where I was the night I asked Tyler for a massage. Asterisk. It had been a draining Thursday. The office AC broke down again. I'd sat through 3 pointless meetings, and my neck felt like someone had wound it too tight. I dropped my bag near the couch, rubbing the tension in small circles, muttering to no one. Tyler looked up from the floor where he was organizing his vinyl records. Asterisk. Tough day? Yeah, I said, half groaning. He stood up, brushing dust off his sweatpants. You're walking like an old man. Asterisk. Thanks for the sympathy. Asterisk. Tyler grinned. That signature half-smirk that always made it hard to tell when he was teasing. Want me to fix that for you? Asterisk. What? Asterisk. Your neck. I'm serious. I give killer massages. Asterisk. I should have said no. But the truth is, I was tired of being untouched. Tired of acting fine, asterisk. You sure? I asked, asterisk. He shrugged. Come on, Eli, it's just a massage. Asterisk, so I sat on the edge of the couch and Tyler stepped behind me. His hands were warm, his touch confident. Not too gentle, not too rough-like. He knew exactly what he was doing, and maybe he did. I closed my eyes, let the pressure melt into my skin. Felt his thumbs knead into my shoulders, firm and slow, asterisk. Damn, I muttered. You weren't kidding. Asterisk told you, he said, his voice close to my ear. Asterisk, I didn't expect the way my body reacted, not just relief, but heat. Something dormant waking up under my skin. Tyler's fingers traveled down the base of my neck, lingering there, then moving across my upper back. There was nothing inappropriate yet, but the atmosphere had changed. Subtle, but undeniable. Asterisk, he leaned in slightly, his breath brushing my hairline. Still sore? I nodded, trying to ignore the rush in my chest. Lie back a little. I'll stretch the tension out. Asterisk, I hesitated, then shifted down the couch. He straddled behind me, placing my hands at my sides, slowly adjusting. My posture like I was something delicate. Relax, he murmured. I tried, but my heart was racing. His thumbs found a spot beneath my shoulder blades and pressed. I let out an involuntary sound, a quiet groan that made my face flush instantly. Asterisk, Tyler chuckled low. Right there, asterisk. Yeah, I said. My voice sounded hoarse. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was loaded, charged. His hands moved again. Lower this time, then paused. Asterisk. Eli. His voice was barely audible. Want me to keep going? Asterisk, I didn't answer right away. My breath caught in my throat. Part of me was screaming stop. But another part, the part that had felt ignored, invisible, untouched, ached for something else. Asterisk, I didn't speak. But I didn't move either. Asterisk, Tyler's hands rested lightly on my sides. Waiting. Asterisk, the sound of my phone buzzing on the table jolted me. I sat up, suddenly aware of everything, the space between us. The weight of what almost happened. Asterisk, Tyler stepped back slowly. It's just a massage, he repeated, but his tone wasn't playful anymore. Asterisk, I looked at him. He looked back calm. Unreadable. Asterisk, I reached for my phone. It was Mason. Missed call. I didn't call back. The next morning, everything felt the same on the surface. Coffee brewed, cereal poured, and sunlight filtered through the kitchen blinds like it did every Friday. But something between us had shifted. I could feel it in the silence, the kind that pretended to be normal but hung a little heavier in the air. Asterisk, Tyler was at the sink, shirtless, rinsing a glass. His back was to me, but I could tell he knew I was watching. Asterisk, you slept okay? He asked without turning around. Asterisk, I hesitated. Yeah, you? Asterisk, he nodded, finally facing me. Didn't mean to make things weird last night? Asterisk, you didn't? I said too quickly. We both knew that wasn't true. It would have been easier if I could just call it an accident, chalk it up to stress or loneliness. But it hadn't been an accident, not really. It had been a choice, or the beginning of one. And now we were caught in that murky space between guilt and temptation, asterisk I. Opened my phone and stared at the unread message from Mason. Sorry I missed your call last night. Long shift. Call me later. I typed and deleted 3 responses before locking the screen again. Asterisk Tyler leaned against the counter, crossing his arms. You're not going to tell him, are you? Asterisk I blinked. Tell him what? Asterisk he raised an eyebrow. That you moaned under my hands and didn't tell me to stop? Asterisk the directness hit me like a slap. I looked down at my bowl of soggy cereal. I don't know what you're trying to do. Asterisk I'm not trying to do anything, he said softly. I'm just saying you're not as innocent in this as you want to pretend. That stung, mostly because it was true. Later that evening, Mason and I FaceTimed. He looked exhausted but happy to see me. He told me about a dog he saw on the train platform that reminded him of the one we talked about adopting. He said, just a few more weeks and we'll figure out how to close the distance for good? I smiled, nodded, and lied right through. My teeth asterisk after the call, I sat alone in my room, fingers resting on my lap, heart pounding. I wanted to feel something definitive, guilt, clarity, resolve, but all I felt was fog. Asterisk that night I avoided Tyler, closed my door early. But avoidance wasn't escape. I still felt the memory of his hands on my skin. My mind replayed the look he gave me after, the one that wasn't teasing, not smug, but knowing like he'd uncovered something I didn't want exposed. Asterisk the following afternoon, I found myself in the kitchen again. He walked in behind me, brushing past 2 clothes. I stepped back, more out of instinct than discomfort. Asterisk I won't touch you again, he said plainly, opening the fridge. Asterisk I didn't reply. He pulled out a bottle of water, cracked it open, then looked me in the eye. Unless you ask. I stood still, heart pounding again. Why are you doing this? I asked. Asterisk. Doing what? Asterisk. Pushing. Asterisk he shrugged. Because you pretend. You're happy, but I live with you, Eli. I hear the sighs, the silences after you hang up. I see the way you avoid mirrors. I swallowed hard. Tyler leaned closer, lowering his voice. He might love you. I'm not saying he doesn't, but loving someone doesn't mean they're the one still holding you. Asterisk I didn't answer. Couldn't? Because part of me, the part I'd spent months burying, wanted him to be right. Asterisk that night, I laid awake. Again, this time replaying every moment with Tyler in haunting clarity. Not because I missed it, but because it had cracked something inside me open. Something I didn't know how to close. Asterisk then came the text from Mason. Guess what? I got a weekend off, coming home next Friday, finally. Asterisk my stomach flipped. Not with excitement, but dread. Asterisk. Mason arrived just after sunset, suitcase in one hand and a grin that looked almost too easy on his face. I met him at the door, offered a hug, and felt the weight of everything I hadn't said sit heavily between our bodies. He kissed me, slow and familiar, and for a second I almost let myself believe we were still okay. Asterisk Tyler wasn't home when Mason arrived. I hadn't told him about the visit, but he must have guessed. His bedroom door remained closed all night. Asterisk Mason unpacked his things like this was still his home. He left his shoes by the door, his charger plugged into the outlet by the couch. It felt strange, like someone returning to a role they hadn't realized they'd abandoned. We ordered takeout, ate on the floor like old times, and he talked about the city, his coworkers, the new gym he joined. I smiled and nodded and laughed in the right places. But inside, I was watching myself from a distance, like I was performing. Someone else's life. Asterisk later, as we curled up on the couch, Mason rested his head on my shoulder. I miss this, he murmured. Asterisk. Yeah, I whispered, fingers brushing lightly across his wrist. Asterisk his presence, once grounding, now felt like a reminder of what I'd done, of what I hadn't said. I wondered if he could feel the change in me, or if love was sometimes blind by choice. Asterisk the next morning, Tyler was in the kitchen when we woke up. He wore a t-shirt and joggers, hair messy from sleep. His eyes flicked over Mason and me, then he nodded casually. Morning? Asterisk Mason smiled. Hey, man. Good to finally meet you, asterisk. Tyler nodded again. Likewise. Asterisk, the exchange was brief, polite, forgettable to an outsider, but I caught the subtle shift in Tyler's posture, the way his jaw clenched, the way he didn't quite meet my eyes. I excused myself to the bathroom shortly after, heart hammering against my ribs. The three of us under one roof felt like a ticking clock. Asterisk, later that day, Mason stepped into the bedroom to take a call. Tyler caught me alone in the hallway. You're quiet, he said. I have to be, I replied. He doesn't know. Asterisk, Tyler looked at me, eyes steady. And are you going to tell him? Asterisk, I paused. What would that solve? Asterisk, maybe nothing, maybe everything. Asterisk, before I could answer, Mason called from the bedroom, and just like that the moment passed. Asterisk, that night it rained a slow, steady rhythm tapping against the windows. Mason fell asleep beside me, soft breaths against my neck. I stared at the ceiling, wide awake, the storm outside echoing the one inside me. Asterisk, around midnight, I slipped out of bed and walked into the kitchen. I stood by the sink, breathing in the cool air, trying to steady myself. I didn't hear Tyler walk in, but I felt his presence immediately. Asterisk, you okay? He asked. I nodded, but it was a lie. He leaned against the counter, arms folded. You look like someone who's choosing not to choose. Asterisk, I met his gaze. I didn't plan for any of this. Asterisk, no one does. Asterisk, silence settled between us. Again, I never wanted to hurt anyone, I said quietly. Tyler's voice was calm. But you did. And now you have to decide what you're going to do with that. Asterisk, the next morning, Mason found my phone on the nightstand. I was in the shower. I don't know what exactly he saw, maybe the message Tyler had sent days ago, or the call history. But when I stepped out, the way he looked at me told me everything. Asterisk, he didn't raise his voice, didn't throw anything. Just asked, how? Long? I couldn't speak. Was it just physical? He asked next. I couldn't lie to him again. He nodded, jaw tight. I thought I knew you better. He packed in silence and I didn't stop him. Tyler didn't say anything that day. He gave me space. Or maybe he knew I had to sit in the wreckage of what I'd done. Asterisk, that night. I stood in the kitchen again, 2 mugs of coffee in my hands. One for Mason, one for Tyler, but I drank both alone. Asterisk.